Hello and welcome everyone to this past marathon Achieving AI Analytics. We are excited you could join us today for Gaston Cruz session, Text Analytics API with Cognitive Services, shape, clean, and analyze your data. This past marathon features back-to-back live webinars delivered by expert speakers from the past community. The session will be recorded and posted online after the event. You will receive an email letting you know when the recordings are available. My name is Juliana Greco, and I will moderate this session. I have a few introductory slides before I hand over the reins to Gaston. If you require technical assistance, please use the questions panel located on the right side of your screen, and someone will assist you. This question panel is also where you may ask any questions. Feel free to enter your questions at any time, and once we get to the question and answer portion of the session, I'll read your questions aloud to the speaker. You are able to zoom in on the presentation content by using the zoom button located on the top of the presentation window. Please know that there will be a short evaluation at the end of the session. This will pop up after the webinar ends in your web browser. Your feedback is really important to us for future events, so please take a moment to complete it. Keep learning all year long. Visit PASS.org and check out all of the free educational resources available to PASS members. Connect, share, and learn. Also, don't forget that PASS Summit will be happening on November 5 in Seattle, Washington. Head over to passsummit.com and register today. This past marathon session is presented by Gaston Cruz. Gaston is a specialist in the implementation of solutions in business intelligence with passion to design corporate solutions. He's an MVP and specialized in business intelligence solutions, technical architect, SSIS, among other technologies. Okay, perfect. Now, without further ado, here's Gaston with Text Analytics API with Cognitive Services, shape, clean, and analyze your data.
Okay, good morning, good evening, good night for everybody that came to this session. I kind of exhausted because I am moving right now from Uruguay to Seattle. Happened just 2 days ago. It's gonna be cool. I'm gonna just give the welcome to everyone that joined this session, and I would love to share this kind of moving from the regular business intelligence that we love to do, cleaning the data, manipulating data with Power BI, but combining this kind of technology with others like AI. It's a new world that is happening right now, and we can combine with Power BI, Power Query, DAX, and different languages that we can use inside Power BI to shape the data and to call different services, and not only use Power BI for that kind of solutions. So that's being said, I'm going to cover in this session how you can analyze data from text, from feedbacks, from campaigns, using not only Power BI, also use the services of Cognitive Services, Microsoft Azure, how you can use the Cognitive Service to analyze sentiment data from that kind of text analytics. So that's being said, first of all, just to share some definitions that they are really important to involve in this kind of solutions. First of all, cognitive services. What is cognitive services? It's just a suite of services that allows you to connect and use APIs to get different logics and different algorithms inside Microsoft Azure and get information from this kind of service. You can search in using Google, Bing, or whatever you want. Search of how cognitive services they are deployment right now. You have text analytics, you have vision analytics, you have computer analytics, you can use video analytics, you can use different kind of services for cognitive and get information inside your own solution. You will use just APIs and you send information like images, like sounds, like text, goes to the service, analyze the data and get as an output definition for that kind of information. In case of a video, for example, you can go ahead and get the recognition of the object that you are pointing out with your webcam or your security cam in your company. In this case, you can go ahead and send as an input different text from campaigns, from marketing, from Dynamics 365, from different CRMs, for example, and send that information about feedbacks of campaigns or just, for example, contact center calls, and get as a result a sentiment analysis, giving you perception between 0 if the feedback was really bad or not too good, and close to 1 if the feedback was really good about this analysis of the text. And you can use whatever text you want in different languages. You can use 27 different languages to send that information to the cognitive service. That's the service that we will use in this session, the text analytics session. So I'm going to share this kind of URLs so you can see what is about and where is that information. If you go to this URL, azure.microsoft.com, the language that you want, services, and here you can see cognitive service and the directory of cognitive services in Azure. You can see that you have vision, for example. I'm gonna I am sharing right now vision analytics. You have speech analytics. You have language analytics. You have knowledge analytics. For example, Q&A Maker is one of them. Search analytics. You can use Bing Web Search, Bing Visual Search as services. In our case, we are going to use language analytics, text analytics, and inside text analytics, you have different documentation from the API, the pricing. So in this URL, you can search using your browser, and you can search that you can use the text analytics API, and you have all the reference to use that kind of services. You have different zones, detect the language, you have the request URL, you have the request headers, bodies, how you have to construct your get information, and how you can handle the response from the API that you are going to use inside cognitive services. So you can use this kind of documentation to see what's going on about the the API and how you can handle the key phrase extraction, and how you can use the language detection from the API. You have entities, you can use key phrases, you have sentiment. That's what we are going to use in our case. So back again for the presentation. In this case, we are going to get information from different sources, different campaign analysis. We are going to switch from imagine that you are exporting information from your application, from Dynamics 365, from your CRM, from ERP systems, from your marketing campaign. You export information or you get information from Power BI to all these kind of data sources. Remember that you have Power BI right now with more than 80 different data sources that you can get data from, and you can get information from different sources, combine them, and then after you combine these kind of data sources, you can send information from these data sources from one column or different columns from your entities. Go ahead and send that information to the Cognitive Services and get the output of the API of Cognitive Service to allow Power BI to analyze this data from the Cognitive Services. So back again to my demo, I'm going to show you, first of all, I'm going to show you just one quick folder that I'm going to use to show you that kind of information. I have two different sources here. One source is the campaign results. Imagine that you export information from Dynamics or CRM system or ERP system, and you have, for example, as a result of your campaign, I am showing you right now that you have a campaign result, and inside the campaign result, I'm going to show you that in my screen, I am showing one Excel file with all the IDs, just an internal ID, and the feedback from different campaigns, different clients, and my campaign, how was that campaign goes. So in this case, I have this file, and I'm gonna use that as a one data source from my Power BI. And the other one, just to take a quick look about this, we have one other Excel file where I show you some emotion ID, and I get just two icons from two different pages, just a smile face icon, just a JPG file or image, and another image. If I click here and I show you that, you can see that in my screen it's going to show you that in my Excel file I am putting just one smile face, or just, in this case I am showing you that I am going to use two different images to get another source and to create a storytelling reporting inside Power BI. So that's being said, let's go to our application, Power BI. I am opening, remember that you have Power BI Desktop, that is the main tool that you are going to use to create reports in Power BI. And I'm showing right now the canvas windows of Power BI Desktop. So here you can have this main button. Remember that Power BI Desktop is updating monthly basis. thanks for the Power BI team that they are working really hard to do that and to get all the ideas from the community. And as I mentioned, you have different shortcuts to get the information from different data sources. And the more here you can see what I commented a few minutes ago and what I mentioned, that you have all different categories to get data from in Power BI, and you can see all these kind of data sources that you can use. Some of them are on premises, some of them are cloud bases, some of them they are services. You have big data sources, Azure data sources, Dynamics. You have so many data sources, and they are adding more and more monthly basis. That's being said, the other kind of mention that I want to let you know is that if you have a system, a legacy system, and that system doesn't allow you to get data from here in the native connectors of Power BI, you can create your own legacy connector using Visual Studio. Visual Studio, you can download SDK in Power Query, and you can create your own connector using Visual Studio as a developer in Power BI, and you can add that connector to this Power BI desktop version. So you can add more and more kind of enhancements to Power BI desktop, so you can get data from different kind of data sources that they are not native sources for Power BI. So that's being said, in our case, and in this example, this session, I'm going to get the information from an Excel file. Remember that the way I explain in this session, remember that, for example, you have Salesforce or CRM or Dynamics 365, you export the information to an Excel file or to a CSV file, or just get the information from there. You connect to the data sources. I'm going to look, in this case, to the campaign results data source, get the information from there. In case of an Excel file, you can connect in two ways. You can connect to a table defined as an origin in data source Excel file, or you can connect to the sheets in Excel file. In this case, the grade one EN is the sheet number 1, and the sheet number 2 is ES. In this case, I also have two different tables, one table of English table and one table of Spanish. If you see here, I can click and I can see the preview. One if the campaign feedback from clients in English, and I have another table with the same text but in Spanish. Remember, I am now moving from Uruguay to the States, so I will be switching between Spanish and English. And I just to let you know, I have two different examples here, one in English and one in Spanish. So if I agree to get the information from this table, English, you have two options here in Power BI, load and edit. I always recommend to go to edit, because they move directly to the Power Query window, that it's a main window and the main system to transform, clean and shape data in Power BI. So I always edit my data source, and then when I edit and click on that button, it always goes directly to the Power Query window. Yeah. After that, I have these two columns in Power Query, and you have in these two columns, just to be sure, I'm going to show again the same Power Query editor. Okay, so I am right now in the Power Query editor window, and the first thing that I want to show you is click on the first column here, and I'm going to switch text ID column just for ID. That's just an internal thing to send the information to the cognitive services. And then I'm going to, the next move, and I'm going to switch to my presentation here. We get the information from the campaign. I show you the different data sources and how to get the information from different systems. Now we have the import, and we rename the column from text ID to ID, so we can go to the Cognitive Services API. And the next move that I'm going to take here is to add a new data source to my data model, and the new source is going to be a blank query. The blank query is because I am going to show you how you can implement with M language or the Power Query language, how you can connect to cognitive services via the API. So the next move that I'm going to show you, I'm going to go ahead and show two different things. First of all, I'm going to show my panel here of Microsoft Azure. In my panel of Microsoft Azure, you can see now my window of the portal of Azure. And in the portal of Azure, if you can see here, you can see the window that allows me to see my dashboard of my panel of Microsoft Azure. So in the dashboard, I see here that I created before a new services, and I want to show you how you can create these services. If you create a resource here, let me know, Juliana, if you can see my screen now, because I am clicking on the screen to show my screen.
Yes, we can see it. Okay,
great. So what I want to show you right now is if you search for cognitive services here, in the portal of Azure, remember that you can subscribe, you can create a new subscription for free in Azure. You have right now coupons for $200 to get the trial version of different services inside Microsoft Azure. So you can go ahead here and create a new cognitive services. And when you create cognitive services from Azure, you can go here and put a name, Pass Marathon, for example. You can use the subscription wherever you want. The location, you can decide what is the location that you are going to use. And then you have different pricing tiers that you can search about the pricing, but it's really cheap to use these kind of services. And the resource group, you can create one resource group, or you can use one of the created before. And then when you confirm and you create here the services, you can see in your dashboard that you are going to see your new cognitive services. What is the thing that you have to take in mind for these purposes of this demo? You have, if this is not a public service, you have to use your own service of cognitive services, and you are going to send that information to the API. So when you're going to use the service, you create first of all the services, then you grab the keys here, and you can see two different keys that allows you to connect to the API and get the information and use these services. So you have to create these keys or copy one of these keys, and this allows you to send information to the cognitive services. So back again to Power BI, and I'm going to show you how you can implement. In this case, I'm going to copy one Power Query window to my screen. So I'm going to show in the next step in Power Query, in this case, I'm going to use this screen of the Power Query. I have one data sources with my feedback from campaigns. I'm going to add a new data source for this model. In this case, I'm going to click in the new source button in the Power Query editor. Here, I'm going to click in the blank query area. In this case, I create a blank query, and in the advanced editor, I'm going to edit the information and put some code. This code allows me to use a variable. In this case, the parameter is going to be a table, as you can see here. So this query allows to get the information from one table and then create in JSON records, get the information from text. That text is going to get from the source that you sent to this query, and as a request, get the information from this web content. This web content is the API of Cognitive Services. See in the URL that in this URL you can use the location of the API of the Cognitive service that you are using when you create the services from Microsoft Azure. And then in this case, as a header to control the security when you use this kind of services, I'm going to put here and change this text for the key that I show you presently in my Azure portal. So I'm going to go ahead and get the key from the Cognitive Services from my Azure portal, and then I'm going to put this code here. This is the code of the key of my Cognitive Services from the API from the Microsoft Azure portal. So that's being said, and that's why I show you how you can create, first of all, your Cognitive Services in your Azure portal, get or grab the keys from the Azure portal, and then use that key in this Power Query window so you can get the information and send information from your text analytics to the Cognitive Services. When I am done, just click here. That creates just the query, and then the next step is going to use this query inside this data source. First of all, I'm going to duplicate this data source. So in this case, I'm going to name this as campaign results. Just right click and duplicate your query. So in this case, one of them is a campaign results, the other one is going to score or sentiment score. And in this case, how you can use the query that we create using Power Query language, just click here that this is my table of the feedbacks. I'm going to use query one. Query one is the name of the query that I created before, and I put query one and parentheses, and inside the parentheses is the source to apply the query one. The source is going to be my table of feedback. So I'm going to send the information of my whole table and process with this query. When I hit the enter button is going to ask me about the privacy of this level. I'm going to ignore in this case the privacy level because this is going to use the privacy from the services and the API of Cognitive Services. So hit OK, and next you have two different results. One is the list of errors if you have some errors behind the scenes, and the other one is the list of documents that you receive after process the information. And you can see that this list is records that you have after you analyze and you put everything in the query and send the information to the query of Cognitive Services. So if I hit this list, it's going to show me all the records. I'm going to convert this list in a table in Power BI. So I hit this click in convert to table. And then after I convert this to table, I'm going to expand the table that I created so I can see the columns that I have here. I'm going to uncheck this original column prefix. I'm going to use ID and score. So hit OK. And I can see that the feedback number one is 91%. So it's a really good feedback from your campaign. If you see the third one is 4%, so it's a bad feedback from our campaign. And as you can see, the 1 and 3, you can see here, and you can see that number 1 is an excellent campaign as text, and the number 3 is horrible. So that's why the process of the Cognitive Services in Microsoft Azure process the text analytics and analyze that information of the feedback of the text and decide, okay, that's being said, the mention of the paragraph is excellent, so that's is going to go close to 1. It's a really good feedback, and the number 3 is horrible, so that's why it's close to 0, and that's why the 4%. So after that, and just to be sure that we are on the loop with if you can see here, let's go to, this is our Power Query window. And as you can see here, we can see that in our screen what we did in the last few steps. We add the input as a query, get the information, we convert the list that we received as a result to a table. The next step was to manipulate the data to expand the table that we get from the, after we analyze the data from Cognitive Services. And that kind of results, because I mentioned that I came from Spanish, and I'm just showing this in English, but if you have the information in Spanish of your feedback of your campaigns, you have to create one new column to let the system knows that you are using another language to Cognitive Services. So before you send information to Cognitive Services, you have to create one language or one specification or add new column in your campaign to let you know what is the text or detect the language of your text that you are going to send to Cognitive Services. So that being said, in this case, you can create a new column with, for example, in this case, if you are going to use Spanish, you create a new column with the ES. ES is the nomenclature to the Spanish. So you can create a new column with ES and send the information again to the cognitive services so you have more accurate analysis from the text. After that, we have to create or design the different relationships in our model. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show again my screen of Power BI, and then I'm going to add a new source here. The new source is going to be the emotions images that I download from different pages. So I'm going to connect again to Excel, to this Excel file with the emotions links or URLs with icons, smiley one and sad face the other one. Open this. I'm going to close the Excel file first of all. And after that, I'm going to get the information from the file. I'm gonna hit to take this from sheet number 1, get the information. And I remember that you can create your data model in Power BI, adding information from different sources. Could be Excel, could be Dynamics, could be create your own query, as we did in a few minutes ago, create your own Power Query languages. In this case, I'm going to name emotions. Then I'm going to, this is the link number 1, number 2. Number 1 is a smiley face, and this is URL to get the images of a smiley face. Number 2 is a sad face. So I'm going to create a conditional column to let the system know, for example, if this number, if this score 91% or this score is 4%, goes to link to a smiley face, that's going to be 1, or a sad face going to be 2. So I'm going to create another column here, another column with conditional column, and I'm going to create a conditional column with the link of some sad face or happy face. I'm going to, in this condition, I'm going to go to analyze the score, and with this, when the score is greater than, for example, 0.5 goes to the link number 1. Number 1 is a smiley face, and otherwise you're going to go 1 point to the link 2, that is a sad face. So it's going to apply conditionals between 1 or 2. So I'm going to use that kind of column to connect or to create a relationship. So here I'm going to close the Power Query editor window, and then I'm going to show you the screen of the canvas of Power BI desktop screen, and I'm going to hit this button of relationships. So we have the relationship between campaigns and sentiment score, and I'm going to link this button here of emotions, and this emotion ID I'm going to link with this one link here. So we have the relationship in our data model. So after that, we can create something like a storytelling here, report, and we can, for example, see, okay, the campaign results, we have a text, we're going to use the text here. Let's try to represent this. So you can see here that we have all the text. We have all the text for our campaigns. Let's try to wrap up the title here. Let's try to use one of the formatting and wrap up the title here. And then we can get the score for each text. After we analyze the information, we can see that in this case, we can decide that this is a fixed decimal number. I'm going to change the format of this window and go ahead and see that the score of each text that analyzed the API of Cognitive Services. Also, you can go ahead and add, for example, in this kind of emotions link, and this link is going to be, remember that you have data category in your data model, and you can send this information and tell Power BI this information. In this case, I have a link, and if you see here, you have a link of emotions, and you have a link, a URL link here, this URL, so you can, in this data model, say that this link entity or this link column is a data category that allows you to use a image URL, and you can go ahead and put this link here. You can see the smiley face and the sad face here. I'm going to convert this in slicer, and this slicer is going to shape my data. I hit to remove the title, and I'm going to choose any horizontal information, behavior here. So you have here the smiley face, and when you hit the smiley face, you can see all the analysis that they are really good feedback for your campaign. And if you hit the other one, you see only bad comments from your campaign. So that's kind of really good shape and good way to analyze campaigns, feedback, call centers, information or calls, feedback from marketing, feedback from social network. I think in a few hours, in Jira is going to show you how you can get information from social networks and do this kind of analysis from social networks. What I want to accomplish with that is show you the whole example, how you can create the cognitive services, how you can use Power Query to call BI API cognitive services, and show you how can you handle this kind of modelings, get information from different sources and get all the feedback from clients and get the information, analyze information using cognitive services, but combine that with the power of Power BI in this case. Back to my presentation. I'm going to show you in the presentation. We accomplished this, the relationship. We see this in this case. I show you how we create the additional conditional column to get information when your feedback is greater than 0.6 or 60%, goes to link with smiley face, and if it's not, go to the bad face. After that, after we create the additional column, we get the result. In this case, I'm just showing you some adding some images to the feedback, but it's the same that you can create your images and your slicer to slice or filter the information if you want to see only the good feedbacks or only the sad feedbacks. Also, one comment about this is you can use this in 28 different languages. So if you want to analyze information only in Spanish, in English, in Portuguese, in French, you can create another column in your text analysis saying what is the right language of your campaign and send that information for the cognitive services. Remember that it's not easy to accomplish this with Power Query, but I enforce you to use and to see this information here. I'm going to go again to the Power Query window because this is the main thing about this sample. I'm going to show you again the Power Query editor because the best part of this presentation is these lines about the Power Query. The Power Query window.
We have 13 minutes left.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Juliana. And that's being said, this window is the best part of this presentation because the Power Query windows allows us to see line by line how you can go ahead and create a new query, send just a table as an input, and after that get the information from different sources and send the information to the Cognitive Services API. Always be sure to get the key from your API Cognitive Services. You can get the key. Remember, when we create the Cognitive Services in our portal of Azure, we can grab the key from there. You always have two keys. You can regenerate the keys, get the keys, and copy and paste the key in this header to your subscription, so you can send the information, analyze with Cognitive Services, and get as an output the sentiment of your text analysis. I'm going to switch again to my presentation, and I think that's gonna be all from my side. Okay, I'll leave some minutes to any question that you may have, or maybe you can just text in the chat window there, or let me know if you have any question about this subject.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
I'll leave some minutes to that.
Perfect. So yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to enter your questions in the question box that should be on the right side of your screen. If you have any questions, please go ahead and write it down, and I will read it aloud. Okay. We have one. Okay, the question is, how much of your demo is available in Power BI Pro?
All this demo doesn't require Power BI Premium or any license at all. So you can go ahead and use all the demo with Power BI Pro account without any restriction. Remember that what you will need is a trial version, almost a trial version of Microsoft Azure, so you can get the cognitive services inside Azure.
Okay, perfect. Danny, does that answer your question?
Okay, that being said, if you have any more questions after our session, you can grab or download the record of the session later, and you can reach me via social networks. My Twitter account is Gaston F. Cruz. I'm going to leave you after this slide. And you can reach me via email, via social networks. I will be there. I will be more than happy to answer those questions. I love the community of PAS. I love it. This is my first PAS marathon, but I'm a huge fan of SQL Saturdays all around the world. I don't know if you have any more questions there.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So stay tuned for our next section. It will be by Alexa. It will be about Alexa or a chatbot, which technology is right for me, with Jeff friends Gabriela Villa and Justin Kirward. Thank you all for attending. And yes, please feel free to reach to Gaston in his social media. He will be more than willing to keep talking about this with you. Thank you.